All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Kniskern. I am the Director of Recruitment and Diversity Enrollment Initiatives here at Widener University, Delaware Law School. It's my pleasure to welcome you tonight to the fourth of our four virtual events for accepted applicants. This one is introducing you to members of our student affinity groups, leaders on campus, and people that you will probably want to get to know as you are making the transition to becoming a Delaware Law student. I'm also joined by a couple other members of the admissions office, so I want to make sure I recognize them as well. We're joined by our Director of Admissions, Steve Fadouk, and our admissions counselor, Heather Hope Curavilla. Now, before I get into the program, I do want to remind those of you that have not RSVP'd for tomorrow's Accepted Applicant Community Day. That is our live in-person event on campus. That will be tomorrow afternoon, and you can still RSVP, I think, until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you haven't already done that, and you're able to be with us tomorrow, that would be great. We'd love to meet you in person, and hopefully you'll get to, well, not hopefully, you will get to see our campus as well. And Heather Hope just put the link in the chat, so if you haven't RSVP'd, you can certainly do that now. So with that, I want to start by introducing our Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dean Joseph Ferris. Dean Ferris is an alum of our law school and has been with us for many years now, and I've asked him to come tonight, talk a little bit about who he is, the role he plays on campus, and some of the services that he may be able to provide to you. So with that, I will turn it over to Dean Ferris.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you, Eric, for the introduction. Happy to see all of you here, including the current students and representatives from the affinity organizations. As Eric mentioned, I graduated from this law school actually in 2019, so it's been just over 6 years or so. Somewhat fresh. And I'm licensed in Delaware and have practiced here for a couple of years prior to moving into this role, which I've been in for now almost 4 years. And every year is different. So I wanted to put that out there. It's different based on various things, whether it's the social political environment that is informed by a mix of things, and including who's in office as far as kind of federally. It's informed by kind of the mix of people. You see the boxes on the screen for the affinity groups and with the admission staff and myself. The soup, if you want to call it, the mixture of those that are participating in everything that they bring with them, background, experiences, ideas. So that is really the bedrock and the foundation of inclusion and belonging when you kind of boil it down, if I stay with the soup analogy, kind of to the ingredients. The ability to connect, which is a strong focus for me. When I think of belonging, it's about connection, collaboration, and communication, and they are all important to foster that sense of belonging for individuals, for groups, and then for the broader campus community. And I believe that here at Delaware Law School, for those of you, that have been accepted and admitted and kind of are engaging with us, you will find that there's a place for you. And as some of the representatives are going to share from their experiences, there's a community where you can get involved and you can participate and you can add your value and you can add your voice. And it's really interesting. And that's why I said it the way that I did about every year is different. There's ups and downs, there's highs and lows. We are riding a wave that's connected to not just the law school, but we sit in Delaware, which sits on the East Coast of the United States, and then, of course, internationally in the world. So we have international students here. We have students from all different types of backgrounds and interests and in different practice areas, and that are going to, when they graduate, just like I did, go to different, areas of practice and, using their skills. So that in a nutshell, when you think of inclusion and belonging, that's really the value of that idea. And so you showing up, you're going to show up with your values and with your insights and with your ideas, and hopefully add them to the mix of the others that will be here. So As far as resources, we are connected to Widener University. We have a chief diversity officer. Here at the law school, we have a DEI committee and a DEI student council. Some of the students that are on the screen have participated in both the committee and the council. And what those groups have done is weigh in on policy. Some ideas that kind of get presented through the groups result in some type of program. We've done programming around neurodiversity, or even some type of like event or action. So recently we created and are in the process of creating a interfaith space, for example, which is moving forward this semester, which came from some requests and some ideas from multiple students, over the last year or so, which we've, as the law school, wanted to support, and we've identified a space. So we have a group of students now that are building out and identifying how to kind of open up that space to make it available for our student body, faculty, and staff. So that's what I mean when I say about the ideas. It wasn't my idea, but it was kind of the ideas of those showing up. It's not perfect. It's not always beautiful, but nothing is when you have a mix of people. But what I want to encourage you and everyone else is, as we approach and engage one another, just to kind of remind ourselves of what is it that we're after? What is it that you're after as an accepted application in your time here? What do you want to contribute? What do you want to, leave with in addition to your JD? And hopefully it will be that you've contributed to, the value and to the dynamic value of the campus community. And that's really what belonging and inclusion is about.
Thank you so much, Dean Ferris. I appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to ask each student to introduce themselves and then talk a little bit about the organization that they represent tonight. At the conclusion of all of their presentations, we will open it to questions. So if you have questions for sort of generally for the group or for a specific organization, if you can hold them to the end, we will leave plenty of time to answer all of those questions then. So I am going to start with Veronica, who is here representing the Asian Law Student Association.
Oh, good evening, friends, those I haven't met yet. Nice to meet you in some facet. I am the president of the Asian Law Student Association, and just recently we had our holy event, literally today. We were throwing color at each other, and we had some great Indian food, and it was put together by my lovely secretary and treasurer, Julie and Malia. And basically what we do is we represent the Asian law students that are in the school, but also we just like the idea of coming together, sharing the culture. Honestly, there's really not that many Asian folks on the campus. And because we're so small, it's good to really share. You know, we like to be a family. So, just as well, we recently teamed up with the Asian Law Caucus, which is all the way in California, and also the South Asian Bar Association. So, as far as that goes, if you like Asian culture and you want to share it with us, come on down. We are always happy to share it with anybody. It doesn't matter if you're AAPI or whatever. Just come share with us. That's how we roll. Now, as far as how I got here, truth be told, I have a very nonlinear path. I started with biology as my bachelor's and then switched over to psychology. I got my master's in forensic psych. And then it's funny, one class you learn about controversial cases in the Supreme Court, you get so mad. Like, why would they make such a crazy decision? You start to feel a fire in your chest, that passion. For those of you here and for those who will listen to this recorded, if you feel that fire in your chest, that's called passion. Chase it and don't let go. That's how I started, and that's how I'm here. And in a few months, I'll be graduating. Chase it. Now then, who's next?
Thank you, Veronica. Do you mind sharing with us just where you're from originally and where you went to college?
Oh, sure thing. So I live in Maryland with my parents right now, but I was born and raised in New Jersey. As far as where I went to college, I graduated from American Military University, but I started out at University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So yeah, go Retrievers.
Great. Thank you so much, Veronica. I appreciate it. Next up, we have Delmary with the Latin American Law Student Association.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dalmiri. I am a third-year law student as well, just like V. I'm the president of the Latin American Law Student Association. I was originally born in the Dominican Republic, but my parents immigrated in the early 2000s, and I moved to Passaic, New Jersey. So like Zoe Saldan, I am a Dominican from Passaic who will achieve amazing things. The Latin American Law Student Organization on campus does a lot of amazing things. We host a lot of academic programming through our program called Ponte las Pilas, which is a series of events for our 1L students and open to all students on campus to help you guys with your classes and learning how to outline and learning how to take exams. We also offer a bunch of networking opportunities throughout the semester. We recently held the Legal Career Fair, which had 135 students in attendance and 32 employers, which is a really good event. We host cultural events with our Hispanic Heritage Dinner and our Salsa con Salsa event, where we taught a salsa class. We had a professional instructor come teach, and we try to support everyone on campus, and we open our events to everyone on campus. So even if you do not identify as a Latin American law student, you can definitely join us and, benefit from the way that we program on campus. We actually also host a series of panel discussions called The Harsh Truths, where we address a couple of controversial or topics that don't often get talked about. And we have one coming up on April 2nd, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and drop the flyer in the chat for you guys. You can attend via Zoom. We have 5 panelists from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, all coming to speak about cannabis law and the way that it has affected people of color in our community. And if you need any information about LALSA or Delaware law, I dropped our LinkedIn link in there too. Follow us on LinkedIn and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And would you mind just sharing a little bit about your educational background, what you studied, and why law school was the right path for you?
Absolutely. So I actually graduated from the College of New Jersey over in Ewing, New Jersey. So South Jersey, even though I'm from North Jersey. And I graduated and then just kind of paused. I took 5 years in between going to law school, and I started off as a personal shopper for a company called Net-a-Porter, and I just spent my days shopping in luxury department stores. And eventually I thought, you know what, I should put my degree to use. And I became a paralegal. And I was a paralegal for about 4 or 5 years before one of my attorneys said, hey, you should apply to law school. And she was actually a graduate from Widener. So I put my application into Widener just to see what would happen. And I ended up here.
I'm glad it worked out. That's a great story. Thank you so much. All right, next we have Jamilin from the Women's Law Caucus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamilin Morris. I'm the president of Women Law Caucus. I am originally from a little country in West Africa. I immigrated here when I was 6 in 2006. I've been in Delaware County ever since. Right now, I live in Philadelphia. I went to Temple University. Love Temple. I studied criminal justice in undergrad. It all started when I was younger. So my dad had a favorite. He still does. And every time she would do stuff, I would get in trouble for it. So I hate when people get in trouble for things that they didn't do. So I was like, I'm going to be a defense attorney and defend everybody who got in trouble for things that they didn't do. And then I went to Temple and I started to learn that prosecutors tend to have more leeway than defense attorneys. And I decided that, okay, then I'm just going to send people to jail. So not everybody's going to jail, but I know that if the evidence is showing that you did the crime, but if it's not, there is something that I can do to steer you away from jail or protect you from going to jail by speaking up in one way or another. So that's my reason for being here. They didn't want people to get in trouble, decided to send people to jail if they did do something wrong. So here I am. The Women Law Caucus is dedicated to the furtherance of women's issues by organizing events that focus on analysis and discussion of gender issues, working to promote equality in both the legal community and amongst the general public. We also do lovely events for girls to just come out and hang out. A lot of organizations on campus are just legal based, and it's about studying and it's about your whatever practice you want to practice. But Women Law Caucus is about the girls to come out to have fun. We do Galentine's every year. It's amazing. The girlies in here know. Our last event was a celebration for the women at Delaware Law School. You know, they don't get the shout out they need. The men don't either. I wish I could do something for the guys, but I gave it to the girlies. Del Mary got her honor cord, her grad cord, because she's a graduate, and I made her cry. She almost made me cry back, but I turned away. So yes, that's what Women Law Caucus do. We're here to make sure that girlies get a voice and get a chance in this little world of ours. So
Thank you. I think you're the first person I ever heard who said they went to law school to get back at a sibling. I love that. There's a million reasons to go to law school, and now actually there's a million and one. So thank you for sharing. Next, I have Taisha for the Black Law Student Association.
Hi, everybody. My name is Taisha Martin. I am the president of the Black Law Students Association. I'm also a third year student like Dalmary and Veronica. Um, I'm originally from Chester. And weirdly enough, I didn't go to Widener for undergrad. I went to Delaware State University. Um, I graduated from there in December of 2021, took a semester off. And then came to law school. I started here in August of 2022. The reason that I chose to come to law school, I've always had a thing for helping people. And my mom told me that I was too smart to be a teacher, which is what I originally wanted to do. Um, and she gave me like a list of things or things that I should look into. I was a criminal justice major in undergrad, and I just realized how messed up the system was. And that's why I chose to come to law school instead of everything else on her list. The mission of the Black Law Students Association, we are a national organization with a local chapter. We have a regional chapter as well, which a lot of our students are also active with. But the mission of our organization is to support Black law students academically, socially, and professionally. Our biggest goal is to foster a community that helps address the unique challenges that are faced by Black law students and promote your success in law school and beyond. We also focus on community service and networking. So we have our professionalism week/month. We alternate depending on what the board wants to do, but those events are tailored to making sure that students are professionally ready to go out into the legal field after graduation. So we do headshots, resume workshop, speed networking, a fashion show, like the do's and don'ts of what to wear to work, stuff like that. And we host different events throughout the school year, celebrating and honoring our students. And at the end of the school year, we do our Stole ceremony and our Trailblazers events, which highlight and honor the Trailblazers and the Black legal community. I think that's basically everything about BALSA.
No, BALSA does quite a bit, so thank you for sharing that with us. Next, I have Morgan with Outlaw.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name's Morgan. I am a 1L student at Widener right now. So currently I'm the 1L Executive Board Apprentice for Outlaw, but I'll be the treasurer for next year. So I am from Philly, and I got my undergrad at Westchester University of Pennsylvania. Go Golden Rams if there's anybody in the chat. I did my undergrad there in history and my master's degree there in genocide and human rights studies. And I also sort of took a little non-linear path I started in public history as a researcher, and I worked at a university for a couple of years. I took a 2-year break. I went back to the service industry. I worked as a bartender, trying to figure my life out a little bit. And then my friend was just like, "You should go to law school." And I was like, "Maybe I will." And I was like, let me try it. Like, let me just go for it." And I did. And I ended up at Widener, and it was the best decision ever. So about Outlaw, we are the campus's LGBTQ plus organization, and our goal is to provide a forum for not just queer individuals, but all people to talk about LGBTQ plus issues and just promote queer visibility on campus and in the legal community. So to do that, we host a series of events that are both academic and career oriented, but also really fun. We host drag shows. Our latest one we hosted in Philly with a couple of other outlaw organizations from like Temple and Drexel. And all the proceeds to that went to a local nonprofit in Philly. We also host happy hours with the Delaware LGBTQ plus bar association, give you a little bit of chance to like network and connect to legal professionals who identify as queer. Um, and then we also partner with the Philadelphia LGBTQ plus bar association mentorship program. I participated in that this year, and it was and is and like an amazing experience. I love my mentor. They have given me um, just invaluable advice about being a law student, but also like navigating the legal field, just in general, not just as a queer person, but just like in general as somebody who's new to the legal profession. So that's been really great. Um, and then we also organize a trip every year to the Lavender Law Conference, which is the National LGBTQ Bar Association Conference, to give you a little bit more exposure. So that's available every summer. And then finally, we also give 1Ls the opportunity to be involved in the organization, not just coming to our events and interacting, but also like behind the scenes, like what does the exec board do? How do we organize? And that is the 1L Executive Board Apprenticeship. Um, so if you are interested in that, we would love to have you. If you are not ready to take that on, we would love to see you at our events. And also just a shout out to all of the other organizations here. I have been to all of your events. Women's Law Caucus, that event that you guys held last week, it was amazing. I loved every second. I laughed, I cried, it was awesome. LALSA held an awesome networking and job fair event like a couple weeks ago, and I made so many valuable connections, all the other groups. So whatever you do, get involved in something in whatever capacity you feel. It is so valuable. It's so, so essential. So thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. And actually, that's a good point. Even if you're not a member of one of these organizations as a student, I think some of you have said this, your events are open to all students. So you can take advantage of any opportunities, even if you're not a member. Next is Deja, talk about 8%.
Sorry, I feel my lighting is continuously getting darker. So I am Deja White. I am a second-year student here. I am from South Jersey, so the Vineland area. I originally started undergrad at Georgia State, but then I kind of thought about it like this is going to be a lot of loans with law school. So I came back to New Jersey where I went to school for free at Rowan University in South Jersey as well. I came to law school. So when I was younger, I always said for some reason I wanted to be a lawyer. And then my family kind of just took it and ran with it. But in 2014, I lost my brother to gun violence. And I still don't have justice for him in 2025. So I have firsthand experience with the legal system. And at best, it is a disservice. And at worst, it is a complete failure. So that connection right there is really my underlying passion for being here, and I remind myself of it every single day, even when it gets hard. And then I am on a lot of the boards here, so I appreciate being here with everyone, but I am representing 8% today. I am the treasurer. 8% is more than just a number. It represents the number of women of color in the legal profession. So it just shows how it just highlights the misrepresentation of the marginalized communities. And we are here to support and uplift us women of color, and just provide a supportive, like, kind of like others said, like a family for students to come and just be supported, but also professional development as well, because it is, as we know, sometimes it's a little bit harder to be in those marginalized communities and have the same opportunities. Sometimes it feels like you're working 10 times harder to get the same opportunities as your counterpart. So I do think it's very important to have a supportive system here. We are a newer organization. We're 2 years old. This was started last year was the first year by the founder, Aaliyah Stokes. She just graduated. So we are growing. We certainly have room for growth. But some events you can expect are fun events like Halloween parties. We do have a movie night. We have study sessions as well for the academic development. But then we also have women-led panels to discuss the issues. And I think it's especially important now in our political climate to discuss these type of issues with diversity and inclusion for us. So it's definitely a newer organization, but it's equally as important. And I just wanted to add, just like everyone else said, it sometimes means more when you're not a part of the group and you do support it. It definitely says a lot more. So if you're on campus and you have the time, just please feel free to just support in any way possible. We really appreciate it. And you meet so many people in the process. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Deja. And last but not least, we have Dina, who's representing one of our newest student organizations on campus.
Hi guys, I'm Dina. I did have, it's literally just a 3-slide PowerPoint just to like organize my thoughts and with our logo and stuff. But yes, I'm president of the Muslim Law Student Association. I started this association, I guess last semester. It's kind of been in the works for like 3 semesters now, but this spring semester is our first official SBA funded and recognized semester. And I started it with about 5 other of my peers in school. And they've all been really helpful and supportive. And it's really great that I was able to start something new. So that just goes to show how if I can start something new at the school, I think everyone can. This school makes it really easy to um, let you be heard, I guess, and represent who you want to represent on campus. So a little bit about me, I'm from New Jersey. I'm a 2L, by the way. I went to Rutgers University and I majored in public health, and I was kind of going the health nursing route. And I just realized I really wasn't enjoying those like clinical classes. Um, so it wasn't until my last year at Rutgers that I took a public health law and ethics class, and I got pretty close to the professor in that class. And like V said, you hear one thing about how our legal system um, works or how it's going right now, and it just makes you mad. So that was kind of my push to go to law school. My professor was the one who suggested it, and I was like, okay, sure. So I did take a year off after Rutgers, and I worked also in the service industry, still work in the service industry to save some money. Um, and then I came as a 1L at Widener in 2023. Let me see if I could share my screen. Oh, it says, I mean, honestly, I really don't have to share it. It's just
It's up
like,
to you.
yeah, I could just talk about it.
Sure.
So Muslim Law Student Association aims to build community and further education and inclusiveness within our law school. So we seek to provide a supportive environment for Muslim students while also welcoming involvement from students of all backgrounds. We essentially just want to share our values and share some or enhance understanding of Islam in general across the student body for people who might not know much about the religion. And yeah, again, so we are also a national law student association, so we are affiliated with the National Muslim Law Student Association and the regional one as well. Um, Yeah, so we hope to serve as ambassadors and reflect the inclusive values of our school. And essentially, we just want to promote the ideas of education and compassion through engagement across lines of difference, um, which I think our school really values. A little bit about our events. Since this is our first semester, we have had a couple events. We just had our baklava and coffee Ramadan event. So we did that after we broke fast and we offered coffee and baklava to all students. And we use this to fundraise for our community service event at the end of the month, which will be an iftar, which is to break fast. We're doing that at the Islamic Society of Delaware in Newark. So we were accepting donations at our coffee event to fund our community iftar event, to make sure we have enough food for all the mosque attendees. The mosque usually has around 200 to 300 people every night, so we really want to make sure we have enough. Um, yeah, and then our final event this semester will actually be in collaboration with the Asian Law Student Association. We are hosting a multicultural potluck, so I'm really looking forward to that. Um, and like some of the other representatives said here, it says a lot when other students just come and show support to your organization, whether or not you're a part of it or you're interested in being a part of it. I think that all the organizations host events that are open to everyone, and you'll find something for you, I think, within most of the events anyways. So it doesn't hurt to go. A lot of organizations have free things that they offer, which I think appeals to everyone as well. But then just some perspective fall events that you can expect from MULSA. I guess it'll be our first table day in the fall, so all the new students will be able to see us and our logo and our members and kind of interact with us in person. We want to host future networking events featuring guest speakers and academic building events, and then also hopefully more collaborations with the other affinity groups. But I think that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Dina. I also want to mention there are two additional student affinity groups that were not able to be with us tonight, but equally important and active on campus. We have our Jewish Law Student Association, or GLSA, and then we have our First Generation Law Student Association. We are a very, very first gen law school. I think it's something about 85% of our students are first gen law, and about a third of our students are first generation college students. We also have, I don't know the percentage, but students that are first generation American as well. So first gen is a pretty broad organization, very, very active on campus. But in addition to the organizations you heard from tonight, GLSA and First Gen are also available to you as well. So with that, I want to open it up to questions that anybody might have for any of the speakers in particular, or any general questions. And certainly, as you know, they're all law students. If you have just questions about what it's like to be a law student, we're happy to answer those questions for you. It's small, so feel free to unmute and speak, or if you would rather type your question in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. Well, I have a question, so oh, wait, no, we'll let Robert go first. Go ahead, please.
Hey, everybody. My name's Rob. I'm a first-year candidate student coming from Villanova University. I'm an administrator there, and I also come from like a food service background. I just really appreciate everyone talking about the different groups on campus, and I'm excited to participate in these groups. I did have a kind of question for Eric and Joseph as far as some of the developments in the national news, as far as like the Dear Colleague letter that has affected our community at Villanova, and we're making some changes on campus. I was wondering how, or if Widener's kind of come out with a response to it, or how they're planning to, if they even need to react.
So I'll
I think it's a great
respond.
question. Yeah.
Thank you for the question, and glad to have you here. So as far as the Dear Colleague letter, and I assume that you've read it, from the Department of Education, and they followed up that letter with an FAQ based on the churn that was resulting from the letter itself. They acknowledge in the letter that their view is not law or legal, but it's their perspective. Even when they reference cases, they were very clear in saying that even though this is extra legal, even though this is not doesn't have the force of law, this is our view, and so that's definitely something that doesn't need to be lost and is being considered across higher education. I can't speak, for Villanova, but I am a part of the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education, who did a response to that letter. And of course, you may know that that organization also filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration and some of his cabinet members, which has resulted in some injunctions that have come forth from the courts. So, as a member of that, and we also have other members that are part of NADAHE, that's one way we're supporting and connecting. But additionally, as far as the university and the law school, which in the other law school, we are in conversations. There is a review process that's taking place on the highest levels, just around kind of like strategy and risk management. Nothing necessarily definitive. There are some, maybe some guidelines or best practices we're trying to get a sense of in our framing. And there are some changes, I would say possibly public facing, that we're considering. But as far as like internal, none of our programs are unlawful. None of our programs violate Title VI or Title VII of the Non-Discrimination Act, the Equal Employment, Opportunity Commissions. Like, we are and have been lawful and lawfully engaged the entire time. So any kind of targeting that some schools and some schools have been targeted based on some specifics. We are a common DEI program in that regard. So that is our position right now. There may be some, some shifts strategically to kind of make sure we're, managing our risk, but that's where we are right now.
Right. I appreciate your answer. That is, it seems to be a similar position from us over here. But yeah, as far as public facing versus the way we're going to behave internally. But anyway, thank you very much.
And
Absolutely.
I can't imagine adding anything to that. I think Dean Ferris answered that question quite artfully, so I will leave it with him. I did have a question for the students. Some of you touched on it a little bit, but I think it's an important thing for one else to think about. In addition to the student affinity groups that are here tonight and the two that I mentioned that are not with us tonight, there are other student organizations as well. There are honor societies, there are clubs that are focused on a particular area of law. There's a lot. And there may be a temptation as a 1L to want to join a lot because they all sound great, they all sound amazing. But I'm wondering if you have advice for a 1L on how to manage that to make sure that they get the most out of their law school experience, but also are focused on, let's admit it, the most important thing is doing well academically. Does anybody want to speak to that? Taisha?
I think that the biggest thing is we all need to remember that we're all here for the same purpose, to graduate, get our JD, become lawyers, attorneys, or whatever you want to do after graduation. And remember that we're students before anything else. I think that I was one of those overexcited students that got involved in like everything I could possibly get involved in and burned myself out. So I think that my advice is to remember that you're a student before anything else, and to know your limit as far as involvement. Like, you can go to events, but don't overextend yourself.
I think that's great advice. Thank you. I think, Damira, you wanted to offer something as well.
Yes, I was the opposite student. I didn't go to anything my 1L year because I just really wanted to do well. And also I struggled with finding community. And that's absolutely something that we don't have a problem with anymore, because so many of our organizations during my 1L year were inactive, and now so many are active and programming effectively. like the 8% and the Asian Law Student Association and now the Muslim Law Student Association. Like everyone, there's a space for everyone and everyone is welcome in all of our spaces. But remember that time management is important. If I could get something tattooed on my forehead, it would literally be those words. Time management is important. So have a calendar, know when your exams are coming up, even if they're assessments and your assessments are worth nothing but 5%, know when they're coming up, know when you have to really hunker down and brief your stuff and manage your time out in a calendar and be realistic with yourself. Can I attend this event today? Yes, but maybe I can't stay for the full event, and that's perfectly fine. Or can I go and spend time enjoying myself at the bar? Maybe not. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, you know? And manage your time in a way that prioritizes your academics, but also your mental health. And it's a very delicate balance, but you will figure it out. I am not just the president of LALSA. I'm also involved in almost every organization that's on the Zoom right now. And I'm on multiple honor societies as well. And I work part-time. So, you know, it's just about knowing when you can say yes and knowing when you absolutely have to say no. Yeah.
I think it's great advice. Thank you. Deja, and then Veronica.
Pretty much just what Del Mary said too. You definitely have to create boundaries for yourself. There's not for the most part for your 1L year, you can't do too many things as far as honor society unless you're like you grade on to like law review or journal, or you go into like transactional law or certain the other societies based on like competition wise. So for the most part, you can focus on your grades, and I think you can attend events, and if you have the time, you can go, but I don't think you should overextend yourself. Just show up when you can. I think that would do enough, but I certainly wouldn't do too much for 1L. I think when you become a 2L is when you think you want to take on everything. And I think those are later conversations you need to have with yourself. But for the most part, the first year is just about getting yourself used to it. I think you should just be involved where you can, but set clear boundaries for yourself.
Very good. Thank you. Veronica, you wanted to add some advice.
Right. Let me just bounce off of what the mighty Dalmiri had said and also what the mighty Deja had said. Truthfully, not everybody can be basically the lioness of the school where you're doing everything all at once. Honestly, Dalmiri, my idol, I swear to you, she's a perfect example of it, but we can't all be her. And in fact, I'm a perfect example. I'm not on any honor societies. I say this freely, bravely, and honestly, I'm not proud of it, but it's true. I don't always have the best grades, but you know what? Finding little ways to help, finding little ways to do things for the organizations around you, finding little ways to be supportive. It's a great thing. You make yourself known, which is super important because networking is incredibly important in law school, but also people will recognize the kind of person you are. Like, for example, recently I redid our logo for ALSA, but also I created the logo for the Interfaith Sacred Space. Ta-da! It's a small way that I could help. It's also something I enjoy doing art, but it still has a major impact and it helps more than you know. And also, Dina, the president of MULSA, for those here and those not here yet, let me just impress upon you guys the fact that it takes guts to found something from the ground up. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of hard work to put something together. It takes a lot of hard work to get here, first of all, but just as well, if you put that work in the small ways or in the big ways, to build something up, to build yourself up, to build everybody up around you, that is possibly the best thing you can do while you're here and anywhere else. And the effects will ripple through and eventually come back to you too.
That's all. That's a lot. That's really great advice. Thank you for saying that. Other questions? I know we had other people tonight. Ben, Gregory, Haitha, if you had any questions that you wanted to share with anybody in the group. It's okay if you don't. Just want to make sure you have space if you want to. hopefully one thing that you're getting from our students tonight is it's, networking, academics, professional skills are great, but having that support, it sounds like you all support one another. And that's so important. I went to law school and I relied a lot on my friends in law school, particularly on those days where it did seem a little overwhelming, just a little too many classes, called on a little too many times, too many assignments all due at the same time. Having that support is really, really, really important. And I'm happy to see all of you here tonight, sharing that with our new students, letting them know that there's already a community for them when they get here. Oh, thank you, Greg. Greg has no questions, but thank you for the information. All right, unless anybody has anything else they want to share or offer. Oh, any of our students that spoke tonight, if you're comfortable and you're willing to share your contact information, if you want to put it in the chat for our students, if they have questions, want to reach out, you're welcome to put it in the chat. And also remember, there's in the chat, there was an invitation to an event that LALSA is hosting. So if that's something you're interested in, it's a Zoom event, you can take that with you as well. Deja, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to add, I also work in the admissions office. So if you ever want to talk to a student of just about Delaware law or law school in general, I'm always open. I am going to put my email in the chat in case you have any questions at all.
Thank you. Yes, Deja is one of our student ambassadors. So if you may have gotten a phone call from her congratulating you on your acceptance. If you come for a tour, you may be lucky enough to get her or one of our other student ambassadors giving you your campus tour. So thank you for that. But with that, I will let you all go tonight. Again, thank you to our students for speaking. For those of you that joined us tonight to learn more about us, you're one step ahead of the game. And if you haven't RSVP'd and want to come tomorrow to Community Day, please sign up. We'd love to meet you in person and have you join us. But with that, I will say good night to all of you.